right, hello everyone. Welcome. Good evening. I'm really pleased to declare my Quinnipiac University's 2020 commencement exercises for the School of Law officially open, beginning. Congratulations to the graduates of the class of 2020. I am Deborah Leibowitz. I am the University Provost. And while I believe I speak for all of us that no one would have wanted to be celebrating in this fashion virtually, we are nonetheless grateful to have the opportunity to and this chance to be together and to celebrate you, our class of 2020. Let me introduce Jennifer Brown, the Dean of the School of Law.
Thank you, Provost Leibowitz. We're just so pleased to have you all here tonight. Welcome, graduates, friends, and family. Welcome to this celebration. We are very pleased you're taking time to join us from wherever you may be here on this August night. And we're joined, by many of your professors, full-time and part-time, who will also be watching you from the wings and cheering you on. And tonight we'll hear from faculty, from students, and friends of our law school. And to begin with, it is my honor to present Dr. Judy Olian, the president of Quinnipiac University, who will bring you greetings on behalf of the university community.
Thank you, Dean Brown, and good evening, everyone. I am so delighted to be here with you today to celebrate this extraordinary milestone in each of your lives. You have so much to be proud of, and I want you to know how terribly sad we are, not to be in person with you today to recognize your achievements. If you'd asked me back in March when we'd finally reunite for your commencement, I would have thought late summer or fall felt like a really good bet. But as we've come to learn these last 6 months, the one predictable thing about COVID is just how unpredictable life has become because of it. And while I wish nothing more than to be standing before you and your families and friends at the People's United Center where we would normally do this, we didn't think it was fair to delay celebrating your huge accomplishment any longer. So let's think of this as an excuse to have two parties instead of one, today in this virtual format, and then we hope again in person in the spring. Commencement is always marked an exciting and perhaps slightly anxious time for graduates. A monumental, formative chapter in your life has come to an end, and now you're just getting started on writing a series of new chapters in your life. Chapters that will contain long nights, exciting and challenging cases, new ways of looking at a problem or circumstance, opportunity to impact individuals and communities around you, and plenty of highs, and yes, also some lows. As I think about our class of 2020 graduates, there's something else special about you. You and your classmates will forever have a unique bond that will unite you for a lifetime, a bond that was forged when you all experienced together a period in our world's history, unlike any other and with no modern day precedent. Yes, there were numerous hardships and disappointments you faced and overcame over these 6 weeks of your last 6 weeks of your law school experience. But from that experience was born a tremendous amount of resilience and adaptability and the capacity to comfort each other and to focus together on the tomorrow. I was reading a Harvard Business Review essay about leadership recently, and the author's words struck me as not only applicable to veteran leaders of companies and institutions, but to this class of 2020 as well. The author wrote, "Real leaders are not born. The ability to help others triumph over adversity is not written into their genetic code. They're instead made. They are forged in crisis." Each one of you completed your law school experience forged in something of a crisis. And as a result, I really believe that you're now starting the next chapter of your life with a set of skills, perspectives, and leadership qualities not taught in the classroom, but instead born through this unique experience and bond that connects you together as a graduating class. And while COVID will certainly not define your law school years, how you responded to it has instilled in you a deep appreciation for your personal reservoir of strengths and for your capacity to help others overcome challenges and fears, how to bolster and inspire others through difficult times. Some leaders will go through their entire careers without developing these qualities. So I encourage you to embrace this moment for what it gave you. It's the silver lining of the pandemic, if you will, and to layer it over on top of all you've learned through your years with us at Quinnipiac. It'll add to your generosity and compassion in helping improve the lives of people and communities around you. And our communities now need you more than ever. We live in times of social and political polarization, of growing tensions along economic, gender, religious, ethnic, and racial divides. This summer was a painful reminder of the deep divide within our country around race relations and social injustices. It was also a reminder that it is time for our community to take the burden of our colleagues who are Black, Indigenous, and people of color into our own collective hands, onto our shoulders, so that it's not they who must again explain or lead change. Rather, each of us must affirm that Black lives matter, and we must commit to actions that will reverse an entrenched history of racism. These challenges also present opportunities for individuals with your talents and knowledge base to alleviate social injustice, to address racial inequality. You have the skills and the voice to right the persistent divides in education, in income, healthcare, law enforcement, immigration, voting access, employment outcomes, the civil rights of women, veterans, and members of the LGBTQ and disabled communities, inequality in residential patterns, and so much more. You've already displayed a bias for action and are doing your part. Your caring and dedication have extended already to local and global communities. You've worked in 2 years pro bono clinics. You teamed up with the medical school to host a week-long series to raise awareness of human trafficking. Through our civil justice clinic, you've helped local residents deal with challenges related to employment, family, immigration, and education law, juvenile justice, transgender civil rights, women's civil and disability rights, just to name a few. You've worked with the Public Defender's Office to represent incarcerated indigent criminal defendants who are appealing convictions for non-capital offenses. You've represented low and moderate income clients in administrative and court proceedings with the IRS. You've helped veterans pursue their VA benefits or change their discharge status. Through our legal services externship program, you've helped represent low-income individuals and families. Members of the Public Interest Law Project organized a Poverty Awareness Week focused on people living in poverty and how lawyers can help. You've participated in RAID clinics to help undocumented parents arrange guardianship for their children who are citizens in the event parents are deported. And along with business school students, you've assisted low-income taxpayers in preparing tax returns through the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program. You've trained hotel and motel workers to spot human trafficking patterns in their establishments. You volunteered your time at Connecticut Food Bank, a local soup kitchen, a therapeutic horse ranch, a local animal shelter, and for homebound residents who need groceries. Those examples are simply inspiring. And you did all of this good while managing a very hefty and demanding course load. We are so incredibly proud of you and admiring of your choices and passions. Of course, this aligns with Quinnipiac's strategic priorities of nurturing communities and of advancing inclusive excellence, which represent two of the 4 pillars of our strategic plan. You're each ambitious, talented, caring, and curious, and most importantly, you conduct yourselves with integrity and decency. As you go forth as Quinnipiac Law School alumni, I know that you will help others as you've been helped along the way, whether mentoring future generations of lawyers who follow you, becoming leaders in government or community organizations, reaching out to children who are not benefiting from the childhood or education they deserve, or tending to neighbors who are in dire need of your talents and compassion. I also encourage you to remain curious and open to the new, to continue learning and growing. I personally have learned most from people who are very different from me, who have dissimilar skills, talents, worldviews, or upbringing, or who were born into very different life circumstances than my own. Be open to those differences and learn from them. If we've learned anything during this pandemic, it's that our life can change very rapidly. We don't know what we'll need to know in 10 years, in 5 years, or maybe even next year. What we do know is that to be successful and enlightened, we have to be lifelong learners, and we must be adaptive to change. You are lucky and you are gifted. As John F. Kennedy said, to those whom much is given, much is expected. Remember to share your blessings and to give back. We'll be forever proud of you. We will follow your life's journey with great interest and pride. Remain a Bobcat for life and know that you'll always have a home here at QU. We hope you come back often. Stay connected, and wherever you land, find ways to remain in touch with your fellow QU family. Remain curious and engaged in lifelong growth and learning. So I end congratulating you, the class of 2020. You have already made your mark. You will make your mark in the legal world, and we can't wait to see how you continue to change the world for the better. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Olian, and thank you for your leadership of Quinnipiac University and your support for the School of Law. We are really very grateful. Well, graduates of 2020, I am very sorry to be addressing you as your dean at graduation. Wait, what? Yeah, I am sorry, because it really wasn't supposed to be this way. You know, you were supposed to graduate in that basketball arena last May. Dean Saxton was supposed to address you then, and I would have been there as interim provost to cheer you on, but I wouldn't have had very much to say. No offense, Provost Leibowitz, but you know, I guess the dean gets to say more. So I am really sorry that it didn't go as we had planned, and I know that you and your families are also sorry about that. But I guess there is a silver lining in this delay and reshaping of your commencement exercises, and if there is that silver lining, it's that I do get to address you. And that's meaningful to me because I remember what you were like as you entered Quinnipiac in August of 2016 or 2017, I think in a couple cases, maybe August of 2015. And I have observed with amazement the growth, the maturation, the transformation that you've undergone. And I am thrilled, really, to celebrate the wonderful things that you've done at Quinnipiac. And the chance to speak to you tonight also means a lot to me because it gives me a chance to acknowledge that, you know, there have also been some not so wonderful things that you've lived through during law school. I know that for some of you, it has been a very challenging time. I know this. And those challenges go back long before March of 2020 when COVID sort of upended the conclusion of your time at Quinnipiac. You've endured a lot. Difficult relationships, friendships that started 1L year but maybe deteriorated or faded over time, job losses, illnesses, even deaths in your families. And that's not even counting the tidal wave of COVID-19, the movement of your final semester online, the eruption of protests springing from the deaths of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, and now the delay and ongoing uncertainty about the bar exam. And through all of this, as President Olean said, you've been resilient, determined, and very, very strong. That's how you've reached this point, and it is how you will eventually be sworn into the practice of law and begin to serve our community and our nation as attorneys. You know, for me, this has also been a tumultuous time. And to keep myself grounded and frankly sane sometimes, I've been reading a very ancient piece of writing, the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius. Now, many of you know Marcus Aurelius was a Stoic philosopher. He ruled as emperor of Rome from 161 to 180 AD, and he was not perfect. Please don't think that I endorse all of his decisions or policies, right? But in some ways, he was very wise. You know, he desired a life of the mind, but his call to service as emperor required him also to be a person of action. And so, you know, amidst the tumult of war, invasions, rebellions, plagues, he sought a source of peace and direction within himself. And a key piece of wisdom from Marcus Aurelius that I've drawn upon in recent months is this: events outside ourselves are often also outside our control, but we can control our own reactions to those events. And so Marcus Aurelius encourages us to sort of draw power from our own reason and our ability to think through a problem. So he says, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. So how have you exercised your minds to deal with disease, injustice, and economic downturn? In part, as President Olean outlined so beautifully, you've gotten out of your own heads, right? You've looked around to see who needs your help and care, to see how your knowledge, skills, and compassion might make a positive difference in a bad situation. You've advocated for clients, for friends and family, and, you know, most recently for yourselves and your professional futures. I've been incredibly impressed with the preparation and professionalism that you have brought to your interactions with the bar, including judges and lawyers, members of the profession who are serving on the bar examining committee, all of whom are working very hard to determine how best to bring the newest cohort of law graduates into the profession. And you focused on things you can control. You can control how hard you work, how polite, professional, and well prepared you are when you address these folks, how clear you are in working through the elements of a very complex problem that needs creative and bold solutions. So I've seen the way you've stayed on course and on track as you've moved from July bar exam to a September bar exam to an online October exam. And I guess I just want to take this opportunity as I speak to the class of 2020 to say, we on the faculty and staff at Quinnipiac Law are with you on this journey, and we will support you in the coming weeks, the coming months, and the years beyond. And I feel certain that as long as you continue in this way, focused on the things that you can control, your response to these crazy, tumultuous outside events, you will do great things and make us all very proud of you. So this is the point in our law commencement when we engage in a tradition that circles back to that day in August of 2016 or 17, or maybe in a couple cases, 2015, when you swore an oath of professionalism as a law student. Now you get to revisit those ideas, but turn those commitments to the next chapters of your lives as you become practicing lawyers. So I'm going to ask you to please raise your right hand, follow along with me, and read the oath as it appears on your screens. I am leaving the academic community of Quinnipiac University School of Law and embarking on a professional career. As a law student and future lawyer, I understand that the study and practice of law carry both privileges and responsibilities. I willingly accept the responsibilities that accompany these privileges and the responsibilities that the faculty, the bench, the bar, and the public entrust to me. I promise to do my utmost to adhere to the ideals of the legal profession and to uphold the highest standards of professional honesty and ethical practice during my career. I will remember that my actions reflect not only on me, but upon Quinnipiac University School of Law, my fellow alumni, and the legal profession. To strengthen the legal community, I will conduct myself with dignity and civility and will treat all of my colleagues with kindness and respect. I will conduct my professional and personal life so as to uphold the values and standards that are expressed in the rules of professional conduct and the traditions of the legal profession. I hope that the chance to read that oath now and to remember the way you read it at the beginning of your legal education at Quinnipiac gives you that sense of the closing of that circle. So tonight, we're incredibly fortunate to have with us really a lion of the bar, Lou Pepe. And I don't want to take time now to read all of his accomplishments and his bio, but I encourage you to read more about him and his wonderful career in the program that you have. For me, he's a person who has inspired so many in our profession to strive for ethics and excellence in our work. And most fundamentally, I think he's shown us how it looks when a person really loves the law and when they want to work for justice from that intrinsic motivation and that love for the law. So graduates, friends, and family members, please welcome Lou Pepe.
Thank you, Dean. President Olean, Provost Leibowitz, Dean Brown, faculty and staff, graduating students, friends and relatives. I thank you for the honor and privilege of addressing your assemblage on this happy occasion, perhaps diminished a bit because we cannot be together, but nonetheless joyous. To the graduating law students now about to embark on their chosen profession, may I extend my hearty congratulations on your extraordinary achievement. This evening, I would like to speak to you about your decisions. The decisions you have already made and those you have yet to confront. Some 3 or 4 years ago, you evaluated the options available to you and decided to prepare for your legal career at the Quinnipiac University School of Law. And as you now look back from the virtual graduation stage, I suspect you are well pleased with that decision. Dean Brown and Dean Saxton before her, with the support of their talented and dedicated faculty, have been on the cutting edge of the innovation in legal education. They have broadened your law school experience by adding to the traditional doctrinal studies more clinics, internships, and externships. Then they took their enrichment efforts to a new level with the Gateway to Practice program in January of your first year, which provided you with an opportunity to work with practicing attorneys to learn what lawyers actually do. All of that and more have advanced their very worthy objective of educating the whole lawyer to better serve the whole client. They all deserve recognition and praise for their fine work, and I know this evening the dean and her faculty and her staff are very proud of what their efforts have wrought. But before you even decided upon Quinnipiac for your legal education, you made the momentous decision that you would pursue a career in law. Each of you made that decision for different reasons in different ways. Some of you had family members who were lawyers, and so perhaps you gained from them some insight into what a career in the law might mean. Others had no such resource, but just knew in their bones that they always wanted to be a lawyer. Still others, let us be candid, may have selected law school as a default option. But whatever the decisional process that brought you here, I am certain that on many occasions over the past 3 years, as you wrestled with the grueling demands of the curriculum, or when you dealt with the disappointment and frustration of your hard work not providing the great results you wanted and expected, or when you considered the growing student debt you were accruing, or when you looked out and saw a very uncertain job market awaiting you, I am convinced that on those occasions and on others, you paused and asked yourself about that decision to become a lawyer. What was I thinking? What was I thinking? Well, I am here tonight to assure you in no uncertain terms that all the blood, sweat, and tears you have expended, all the obstacles you have faced and overcome, all the trials and tribulations of the past 3 years were all worth it. And I can make that claim with complete conviction and with no equivocation, because next month will mark my 50th year at the bar, and I can say without hesitation, I wish I could do another 50 years. I can assure you with confidence that you made the right decision, because you are about to enter a great and honorable and noble profession. If we are a nation built on the rule of law, and of course we are and must remain so, then that ideal, its preservation and its implementation is entrusted to our profession. As lawyers, we are charged with the duty of making the rule of law work for everyone. And what higher calling can there be? I have characterized the law as a great and honorable and noble profession because I believe it is. But I also believe that whether it stays as such will depend to a large extent on you and your colleagues who are graduating this year from law schools across the country. And that is because our profession is under constant economic and competitive pressures from the internet and otherwise that threaten its precious core values. And that means it is up to you to preserve those values. You are the future of our legal profession. It matters not at all whether you pursue a career in private practice or as a public defender or a legal aid lawyer or a prosecutor or in-house counsel or any of the other myriad opportunities your law degree provides. For whatever your choice, you will carry with you your very real obligations to the profession. Tonight, you recited the professionalism oath. And soon, after you have that dreaded bar exam behind you, you will take the attorney's oath, in which you will solemnly swear to, quote, exercise the office of attorney according to the best of your learning and judgment, faithfully to both your client and the court. To the best of your learning and judgment, faithfully to both your client and the court. It is important that you just not recite the words of those oaths, but live them. And that takes us to the decisions you have yet to make, decisions you will surely confront once you embark on your legal career. For example, will you decide to zealously advocate for your clients, but always with the utmost civility, treating the court and your brothers and sisters at the bar with respect and dignity at all times? Will you decide to scrupulously maintain the highest level of ethics and character and integrity, because everything you do in your new life, you do as an officer of the court? Will you decide to give generously of your time and talent to help the least fortunate among us? Because pro bono work has always been and must always be a hallmark of our profession. Will you decide that because the law is ever changing, your legal education will never end, thereby recognizing that maintaining your skills is essential to discharging your duties to your clients? Will you give back to the legal community, whether by joining and working in the organized bar or teaching or mentoring your colleagues is not important, so long as you give more than you take? Finally, will you decide, when all is said and done, to accept the fact that you have selected a truly demanding profession and decide that you can and will make the personal sacrifices necessary to do it right? If you decide those questions correctly, as I am confident you will, then our beloved profession will be in good hands, your hands. As I look back on this past half century, I cannot help but feel that I have been truly blessed to live my life in the law. It is my wish for each and every one of you tonight that someday you will say the same. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Attorney Pepe. If all of us can achieve even a fraction of what you have and contribute even a fraction of what you have to our profession, we will have done a great, great deal. So thank you for those encouraging words. Well, it is now my honor, and I am very, very pleased to introduce the candidates for the degree of Juris Doctor from the School of Law. Robert J. Anderson. Aaron Adonis Arias. Mark Costello Bachman. Justin R. Bankston. Christopher Ryan Boy. Alexandra M. Brantley. Adam C. Brocklehurst. Amanda Marie Calamito. Victoria Lynn Carroll. Alexandra Childs. Eleni Tenzin Chofel. Danielle Elizabeth Combs. Morgan Elizabeth Crabtree. Julie Ann Culver. Kirsten E. Cunningham. Kyle Edward Sapiga. Kathleen Ann Dacey. Zachary Belford Damiano. Joey Lynn Dominique Darius. Rebecca Lee DeBias. Troy DeLeon II. Andrea Gabrielle De Palma. Morgan Giovanna Egeberg. Colleen Raftery Enteman. Alyssa Rose Ferrone. Jacob Ore Fontaine. Haley Caitlin Ford. Timothy R. Fray. David Allen Friedlander. James H. Golicz. Alyssa Hague. Emily Melissa Hall. Lori Marie Hamilton. Rosemond Mary Haseltine. Nicole Katherine Heroy, Danielle Marie Hottin, John Houlihan, Carmel Ashley Joseph, Christopher E. Kuzia, Aaron J. Levin, Michael Gino Licitano, Stephen Anthony Lojo, Madalyne Longfellow, Ashley Lynn Lopole, Catherine Maxwell Lowe, Nicole Linda Maley, Evan G. Marlowe, Louis Joseph Martocchio III, Jessica Erin McDade, Anna Rothfuss Marin, Ben Paul Mileski, Victoria L. Miller, Rachel Elizabeth Morrow, Caitlin Aaron Murphy, Samuel Michael Nacetta, Kyla Marie Nichols, David Craig Nielsen, Virginia Marie Pano, Grace Elizabeth Palo, Brandy Michelle Perry, Heather J. Reeves, Ricardo Antonio Reyes, Oscar F. Romero, James Nicholas Rotondo, Bethany Gabrielle Russo, Jamie O. St. Paul, Brian G. Schlosser, Paul Joseph Anthony Small, Nicholas F. Smith, Megan Lee Spicer, Rachel Elizabeth Spina, Kayla R. Stephen, Amanda Elizabeth Siskovich, Kayla Alicia Tenor, Selena Tara Espinal, Elisa M. Villas Boas, Earl Austin Voss, Emily Rose Wagner, Catherine Louise Walker, Taylor J. Wilcox. Madam President, I have the honor to present from the School of Law candidates for the degree of Juris Doctor.
Dean Brown, thank you. By the power vested in me by the Board of Trustees, I hereby confer upon all of our graduates the degree of Juris Doctor with all of the rights and privileges pertaining thereto. Congratulations, graduates.
And graduates, this would be the point at which your faculty would stand and give you that standing ovation, because we are so incredibly proud of you. And I want to take this opportunity to congratulate all of our School of Law graduates whose names you see scrolling now. Although not all of our beloved community members could join us tonight, we know the important role that every member of the community has played in creating this community of teachers and learners, and we know you will do amazing things. And now it is my pleasure to introduce our student speaker, who ably served this year as president of the Student Bar Association, Nicole Maley.
On behalf of the class of 2020, I would first like to thank Dean Brown, President Olean, and the entire Quinnipiac University School of Law Administration for giving us a chance to celebrate this extraordinary achievement. I will be honest, finding the words to express to all of you tonight was remarkably difficult. We have all worked incredibly hard these last 3 or 4 years with the hopes of walking across that stage at graduation, and this is certainly not the ceremony that we envisioned or hoped for. But I am glad that we are getting the opportunity to be together, albeit a bit different than expected. Oscar Wilde said it best, that success doesn't rush. The greatest reward is the journey. Well, this is our journey. This graduating class has faced more challenges along our journey than we could have ever predicted. But as with each challenge we have faced and overcome, we are now being pushed to truly think about what kind of careers we want to build, what type of lawyers we want to become, and most importantly, what kind of people we want to be. Based on the interactions I have had with all of you over the course of these last 3 years, I am certain that we will all persevere thanks to our resilience, to the lessons we have learned from this school, and to the relationships that we have formed with each other. My goal tonight is not to harp on the current turmoil that our world is facing. I could not even pretend to imagine the trauma some of you have experienced over these last few months, and I do not want to minimize your struggles. My goal instead is to remind you all that it is exactly moments like these that we have to reflect on the lessons we have learned throughout our time at law school and recognize the great responsibilities we have moving forward. Our summers looked very different than we had once imagined. Many of us have been delayed beginning our work. We are facing significant hardships, and the uncertainty that is still lingering over the bar exam is brutally agonizing. Yet despite all of this, we will come out of this stronger. Use this as a reminder to never take things for granted and to always work to make things better. My final thoughts are words from Asha Tyson that I hope resonate with you all the way they did with me. Your journey has molded you for your greater good, and it was exactly what it needed to be. Don't think that you've lost time. It took each and every situation that you have encountered to bring you to the now, and now is right on time. I hope that one day soon we are able to celebrate this feat in person, to properly walk across the graduation stage and be hooded by our favorite professors, to celebrate the way that we have been dreaming of doing. But until then, good luck to each and every one of you as you continue along your own journeys. And thank you to the Quinnipiac University School of Law for helping us along the way. Congratulations, class of 2020, we did it.
Thank you so much, Nicole. We really appreciate those remarks, and thank you for sharing them tonight. It's now my opportunity and my pleasure to introduce the Professor of the Year. As our students all know, and I can tell our friends and family members, the class of 2020 voted last spring for the Professor of the Year. And this is a coveted honor among the faculty. And this year's speaker is very deserving of this honor. So I hope you will join me in welcoming our friend and colleague, Professor Jeffrey Cooper.
Thank you, Dean Brown, the Pandemic Professor of the Year. It's an honor I will not forget. President Olean, other members of the panel tonight, Dean Brown, honored guests, family, and friends. It really is a great honor for me to speak to you on behalf of the faculty. And on behalf of the faculty, I offer our hearty congratulations. And members of the class of 2020, I do want to say to you personally, thank you for this tremendous honor. It means more to me than you can know, the greatest honor I've gotten in a 30-year career. So I thank you very much. So in some ways, this is my final class. And in keeping with my tradition of teaching, then I'll talk about kind of nothing for the next hour and 10 minutes. And then I'll keep you 10 minutes late and cover the material for today. In preparing this final class, I found it particularly daunting. What could I say that would rise to the occasion we are in history and that would survive the test of time? And that was even more daunting as I thought back to my own law school commencement and realized I didn't remember anything of it. And I talked to some of my colleagues on the faculty, and few of them could remember their own law school commencement. Few could remember who spoke, and almost no one could remember anything that was said. The one rare exception was Professor Farrell. And he talked to me extensively, vividly about his law school graduation and the pride he felt and the roar of the crowd when Abraham Lincoln stepped forward to address his graduating class. Now, since this is via Zoom and I've turned my chat off, I can't tell if you're laughing or not. And we have a lot of guests with us tonight, so I really should clarify. Professor Farrell did not graduate law school during the Lincoln administration. That was silly of me to say. Obviously, he was just a kid at that time. So back to the point at hand. In preparing these remarks and preparing this final class, I'm not drawing upon my own law school commencement. I'm not drawing upon one of Lincoln's great speeches. I'm not drawing upon Lou Pepe's 50 years of experience or Dean Brown's mastery of history. And I'm going to draw upon a single simple phrase, and it's a phrase that came up when President Obama was signing the Affordable Care Act. I'm not going to talk about policy or healthcare reform. I'm going to talk about this phrase, and it was uttered by the Vice President of the United States when he whispered into the president's ear and said something caught on a hot mic, and what he said was, "This is a big deal." He actually had an extra word in the sentence. It's a word I had to delete when I turned in the draft of my speech. And I know Dean Brown is sitting home saying, "Please, Cooper, don't do it." So to her and to you, I just want to say what the Vice President said. He said, "This is a big deal." And why do I remember that moment? Well, for one reason, it was kind of unusual back then to hear a politician get caught in saying something on an open mic. But that's not what intrigued me. What intrigued me was the fact that he felt the need to say it. I mean, if you're president of the United States, you're about to sign a major piece of legislation, you're in the White House, you're getting a standing ovation, do you really need to be reminded that it's a big deal? And the answer is yes. And here's why. Because even in a moment like that, a moment of such great triumph, you can fail to appreciate the achievement, the where you are. You could be looking past that event to the next one, to the next legislation, the next deal, the next case. And so that's what the call to action was in that moment, to pause, to reflect, to bask in that roar of the crowd and the sound of applause, and to appreciate the sense of accomplishment. So tonight, on the occasion of your commencement, I say the same thing to all of you. This is a big deal. And before you resume the journey forward to all the great things that are ahead of you, take a moment to bask in this accomplishment. And I know tonight may be a tough time to do that. There's no roar of the crowd, no thunderous applause. You might be sitting in your parents' basement or wearing your pajamas or trying to keep your family quiet so you can hear this speech, or more likely, waiting for the speech to end so you can hear your family. And a few minutes from now, you'll be back to work or to Netflix or studying for the bar exam. The moment will have come and passed. And I say, don't let that happen. In this great nation, only 1/3 of adults graduate from college, and only a fraction of those go on to get a degree like the one you just received. This is a very big deal. Now, why do I keep saying that? Do I want you to become arrogant egomaniacs? Not necessarily. It has served me quite well, but I remind you of this just for 2 simple reasons. One, you deserve it. It's your night, it's your time for celebration. But I do have a second point. And that is, if you don't develop an appreciation of where you are, if you don't stop and enjoy those great achievements, you can never enjoy the journey. You'll never have the rewarding career of what Lou Pepe spoke. For in the practice of law, you'll be surrounded by other lawyers. When you start in a law firm, some will be partners. When you're a partner, someone will be the senior partner, and so on. So while focusing on the road ahead is good, completely losing perspective is not. Keep the ability to enjoy where you are. Otherwise, you may be just driven to take on too many cases, ignore clients you feel aren't important, cut corners in an effort to get further faster. Don't be that kind of lawyer. Don't be that kind of person. Enjoy where you are as you look forward. Bask in your great achievements. So class of 2020, that's my simple message. It's also the end of my time, at least for tonight. Our circumstances have kept us physically apart, but that will change. Science will prevail. This battle will end. And as Alexander Hamilton often said, I think it was him, he was on Broadway, we will see each other on the other side of the war. And we'll emerge with new appreciation for things we long took for granted, a handshake, an unmasked hug, the simple ability to be together, and maybe if we're lucky, the ability to place a hood on a graduate. Until that day, until we meet again, be safe, be strong. For President Olean, be Bobcat strong. And above all else, be very proud of all you have accomplished. Congratulations again, and thank you very much for the honor of speaking to you tonight.
Thank you, Professor Cooper. Just so wonderful. Thanks a lot. Well, everyone, on behalf of President Olean and the entire university, I offer heartfelt and very hearty congratulations to the class of 2020. As we conclude tonight's ceremony, I want to thank you all for your patience with this virtual format. And it is our sincere hope that you were able in some way to celebrate and to enjoy the culmination of your time with us here at Quinnipiac, and that you will remain active members of the Quinnipiac community. Good night.